On this channel, I've talked a lot about the current situation in Japan regarding over-tourism and its effects on the Japanese society. Which is why daily I get messages in my comment section from people around the world sharing their opinion on the matter. What left me speechless though was the response my videos seemed to get once they started circulating in Japanese online spaces. Strap yourselves in, boys, things are about to get spicy. If you've seen my videos, you already know that I like talking about foreigners in Japan. If you were to ask me why, I guess it's simply because I'm a foreigner in Japan myself. I know how it feels to be a tourist in here, but also, by now, I've been here long enough that I understand how the country works and what the locals are thinking. So, whenever a situation like this happens, to me it is not only interesting, but I feel like I can approach the topic from a reasonable perspective. By now, we all know that tourism in Japan has reached a boiling point, and especially after Johnny Somali's antics, these foreigner incidents in Japan have been the talk of the town. The Japanese news have given these people the nickname nuisance foreigners, and even regular tourists have become collateral damage with how the local media here reports on this issue. Here on YouTube, it's also become an extremely popular topic, which is why everyone and their mother is piling on foreigners and making videos how tourists are ruining Japan. It's the popular opinion right now and essentially the drama of the week. Right now, in the Japan niche, if you were to make a video about crapping on foreigners in Japan, well, you're bound to get likes and views. And I get it, if you want to succeed on YouTube, you need to have a black or white opinion. Either the thing you're talking about is the best thing ever, or it's the worst thing ever. But therein lies a problem. You see, most of you guys are able to distance yourself from people like this, who act like complete idiots abroad. You know that these people are just morons, and you and people around you probably wouldn't ever do anything like this. However, to the Japanese people who see these videos, they don't put themselves in the shoes of the tourist, but instead, most of them simply look at these people and think this is what all foreigners are like. What I'm trying to say here is that as much as it is fun for us to revel in this nuisance foreigner drama, whenever we do so, we are also putting more gasoline in the anti-foreigner flame. For us, these videos are about making fun of those people, but for many Japanese, these videos make them hate those people and also us even more. How do I know this? Well, whenever one of my videos about this situation has been reposted to Japanese websites, the comment section quickly fills up with comments like this. The only good foreigners are the ones. I want the extermination of foreigners to be legalized soon. They are such scumbags. There are many of them in Tokyo. If I had a gun, I would want immediately. If we find these people, we should use face recognition and passport checks to expel them from Japan and prevent them from entering the country. If you see a foreigner, point a toy at them. They won't think it's a toy, so you can get some interesting footage. And obviously, these are just extreme hand-picked online comments, and most Japanese people wouldn't ever say anything like this. Every person I meet face to face is nothing but nice to me, and these are just weirdos posting online. I mean, we see non-Japanese people also writing stuff like this online. However, whereas you might see comments like these on 4chan, these kind of comments are actually relatively common on just regular Japanese websites now, and the amount of them is much more than you'd think of. And it's not because Japanese people are evil, far from it. It's hard to blame people who post stuff like this, since most of them never interact with foreigners and all they see and hear on the news is that foreigners in Japan do nothing but cause trouble. And then even we ourselves join them by posting videos day after day how foreigners in Japan are the worst thing that could happen to the country. This is why I myself in my videos have tried my best to be reasonable, and instead of grifting with foreign man bad content, I've tried to take a neutral position whenever I've talked about this topic. You can always hear me making fun of these kind of people and telling everyone to never do anything like this in Japan because it does nothing but make it harder for all of us to travel in here. But I also try to remind people to approach this topic with a little bit of caution because the Japanese perspective on this issue can be quite extreme at times, and we should be reasonable and maybe not wish, an aliveness to people for doing extremely rude TikToks on a train. Let's collectively crap on them, sure, but let's not get carried away. Sadly though, this kind of approach isn't well received in Japanese online spaces either, since in my recent video I traveled to Kyoto and talked about the negative things tourists do there, while also mentioning my love for the local people. However, during that video I happened to make the mistake of mentioning that from my point of view, the situation in Kyoto didn't seem to be as bad as the Japanese media had made me believe it was. Because of this, even though the majority of my video consisted of blasting on foreigners and glazing the local people, I was welcomed in the Japanese forums with comments like this. It's even worse than the media is reporting in Japan right now. It's all your fault, you damn foreigners. Stop parasitizing Japan and go back to your own country, you white nerds. And a lot of people were saying that there was no reason to listen to anything I had to say because there is no point in discussing what is more or less from a foreigner's perspective. Or like this guy put it, it's pointless for foreigners to evaluate things like this. It's like asking a thief if he stole something. Because, as we all know, foreigners are just cruel people after all, and their nation should be legalized. There was simply no room for anything but hate. Now obviously, I'm not excusing any bad things people do in the country. Otherwise, half of my videos wouldn't be about shitting on badly behaving foreigners and constantly telling you guys to never do anything like this. But it is also disheartening to see people both from abroad and from here in Japan generalize these actions to all foreigners because that not only affects me, but also anyone who wants to travel to Japan. I do think it's ridiculous to see comments like this, where foreigners are getting blasted for sitting on the road with their feet on the ground, while every time I go out to the city, it looks like this. Two wrongs don't make a right, of course, but I think we should acknowledge that Japan is not a country where only foreigners are capable of being annoying. Right now, it seems like the general consensus online in the West is that all Japanese people are extremely polite and nice, while all tourists in Japan are a nuisance. While the consensus online in Japan is that all Japanese people are extremely polite and nice, while all foreigners in Japan are a nuisance. Like this guy put it after seeing my video, foreigners living in Japan are also a nuisance. This is why in all of my videos I aim to be a neutral party and look at these situations from a rational, reasonable perspective. Right now, there are a lot of tourists in Japan, and just like anywhere else, tourists don't know how to behave. Japan has historically been a closed-off country with very little foreigners, so it is expected that the reaction to a sudden boom in tourists is met with extreme overreaction. So, what can we do? Well, first of all, calm the fuck down. Collectively, we should aim to be on our best behavior whenever we visit Japan and be respectful to anyone and everyone around us. Japan is an amazing country full of beautiful people, and almost everyone you meet will be extremely nice, reasonable people. But just like anywhere else, there are also unreasonable people online, and sadly, right now, with how things are due to historical and cultural reasons, and due to the way the local people consume media, there are more unreasonable people online than there realistically should be with how things are once you log off your computer and look around yourself. I don't think it brings anything good for anyone if we indulge in the opinions of these unreasonable people online, and collectively we are all better off if we calm down and look at this foreigner problem realistically. Things aren't as bad as they might seem if you only listen to people online, but we still need to figure something out so that things do not get worse as they have in many other countries with scammers and pickpockets roaming in popular tourist destinations. With all of this in mind, let's continue making fun of anyone and everyone who doesn't know how to act in Japan in the future too, just like we have done so far. But let's also be reasonable and remember that not every Japanese or foreigner is either good or bad. We are all just normal people, fully capable of being both.